This is James Lupton, the Sloth Box, sponsored by the Excelsior Sporting Club. And today I am joined by the host of our sponsors, Ray Mancini. Ray, how are you?
I'm very well, Jim. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
I want to talk about some of the boxing news at the moment. First of all, the heavyweights, you've got Tyson Fury, Alexander Usyk, Anthony Joshua, Deontay Wilder. Talks of the four of them facing off in December out in Saudi Arabia on the same night as well. What do you make of that, first of all?
Well, first of all, I'd be wonderful if it could happen. That's like how they used to do in the old days. You get the top four guys, and then the winners fight each other. But in this case, Fury's already fought Wilder 3 times, beaten him all 3 times. My view, first time they call it draw, he beat him, and then the last 2 times, of course, there's no reason for him to fight Wilder again. The Wilder fight Joshua, that'd be an interesting fight. Very. But I got to tell you, Usyk, I'd pick Usyk to beat Fury. And a lot of people don't want to hear that, but I said no. Fury's a big guy, tall guy who can move, strong. But Usyk's got a high boxing IQ, and he fights on angles. He don't come straight in. See, to me, you give angles to Fury, you give him problems. If you come straight at him, he'll eat you up. Usyk has got a high boxing IQ, very smart in there, and he hits pretty good. I'm not saying he knock him out, but he can hit him enough to hurt him. So I think that's a great fight. Look, I think boxing is better having a Tyson Fury being the champion right now because he talks as good as anybody, and boxing needs personalities, and he's the big personality. But you can't keep talking without doing. So, he fought Fury. He fought Wilder 3 times. I always thought that Fury and Joshua would be an interesting fight. I thought styles make fights. I thought Joshua would give him some problems. I'm not saying he would beat him, but because Joshua's, Fury may be a little too big. His punch, Joshua don't take the best punch in my view. He don't take the best punch. I think Wilder would be a problem. I think Wilder may expose that. But see, Wilder has been exposed. He doesn't have a great technique, and he's not a great puncher. He's just a good puncher. So a guy like Joshua, who's proficient, very technically sound, with straight punches, I think he'd beat Wilder. I really do. And then if we get Joshua, I think Usyk beats Fury. I think Joshua Usyk, that would be an interesting fight. I think that would be so. I mean, there's a lot of good fights to be made in boxing. There's a lot, besides we talked about earlier, we talked about Spence Crawford finally being made. I think it's a little past the expiration date, but still a big fight. So I hope the fights start getting made, more of them. We just had Teofimo Lopez, Josh Taylor, which I picked Taylor to win, and I thought he looked a little stale or a little weak. So maybe he's outgrown the 140-pound division. He's got to move up. He won. After 3 rounds, it looked like he just couldn't pull the trigger. It's just his body looked like he hit the wall. So maybe he overtrained, maybe he drained himself to make that weight. But what I'm getting to is a lot of the big fights are starting to get made. I just read today that Canelo and Charlo is made for some time later this year, September. That's a hell of a fight. Charlo could fight. I'm telling you, him and Canelo, that's a hell of a fight. Charlo could fight. They're talking about David Benavidez fighting anybody. David Benavidez, one of my favorite fighters to watch. This kid can go, man. And he'll fight anybody. So there's so many good fights out there to finally be, and they're finally coming together. I hope so, because if not, the state of boxing is not very good right now. MMA's kicked our behind on a regular basis. We've got to have, and because they're in their sport, the best always fight the best. Our sport, that doesn't happen. We got to start having that happen to retain the popularity we once had.
You mentioned the Canelo and Charlo. A lot of people feel it's a one-sided bout for.
Yeah, no. I'm telling you, Charlo can fight. Charlo's a dog, he's a junkyard dog. I'm telling you, this kid can fight. And I'm not gonna say he's gonna beat Canelo, but that's what I'm saying. But this kid will give Canelo all he wants. It'll be a headache for Canelo. Trust me. Charlo. Now the problem is though, Charlo hasn't fought for us since 2 or 3 years. Why? I don't get it. Here's a guy who should have been fighting regularly, but he hasn't. And so that's the one thing that might hurt him. And then you're going against a guy Canelo, the first fight after a couple of years. That's a problem. That's the problem. But if he'd been fighting regularly, I think it's an evenly matched fight. I still think it's a very good fight. Of course, Canelo should be favored because he's been more active.
We know, obviously, you mentioned activity and that can play a factor, and styles make fights, and everyone's got their own style. But should Charlo potentially look at the Bivol fight against Canelo and almost look at the blueprint there?
Yeah, absolutely. That is just it. It is a blueprint. How you got to have a guy who moves, can move, who's a good boxer. How you got to fight. Now he's not as tall as Bivol, but he's got a high boxing IQ also, like Bivol. And you look at that jab, keep him on the outside of the jab, and drop that right hand, and then you just move around him. You don't move. You got to move around Canelo. You got to give him angles. I think guys who do that, again, he's another guy who can be exposed by giving him angles. But if you move away from him, try to run from him, he'll hunt you down. But you got to stay in the pocket and just move around him. Stay in the, but just give him angles and punch a lot. Charlo punches is a lot of, he punches a lot. He has, good hand speed. He punches in bunches. That's gonna be a hell of a fight. I'm happy to finally see it being made.
Absolutely. Well, Ray, I won't get you no longer. I know you've got a busy evening ahead of you. Thank you very much for your time once again.
I appreciate you. Thank you for having me.